Okay, welcome back to the channel. Welcome back to another video. I'm still off on holiday. It's my last day of being off. I've been off since the 18th of October. It's now the 5th of November. I got a phone call yesterday. The line that I'm currently on is ending. So they phoned me up and gave me a choice. I can either stay at Brighton, and the duties I have been doing are all going to Brighton because they're all in Brighton. They're creating a new rota in Brighton, so I can either stay at Brighton and go on to that, or I can go to Worthing. My answer was I don't know any Worthing routes. I don't know the Worthing area very well at all, and I know there's a lot of routes that come out of Worthing that operate all over the place. I believe there's even one down in Bognor, which I wouldn't have a clue with. Bognor, Chichester, I've no idea of those places. So I would find that extremely difficult to learn. So I've opted to stay at Brighton. So I will continue doing the 47s, 52s, and it looks like I'm going to have to learn the 16s. But yeah, it's a mix of earlies and the duties I was doing. So I'm used to that, and it'll be nice finishing early from time to time. So yeah, I'm staying at Brighton. I think it's a little bit less money because I was getting paid travel and now I'm not going to be. So it's a little less money. But when I first started, I was a little surprised by the being paid the travel time anyway. So it's not such a big deal for me because I've not been there that long. So I've not got used to that extra money. Also, on the 18th of October, I had my first assessment. Many of you know I've been waiting for an assessment for autism and ADHD. The ADHD one was by accident. The doctor's receptionist gave me the wrong form and I scored so highly on it, they decided to give me an assessment for it. Well, I've had that assessment. I scored very highly. um, there are three kinds of ADHD, I think. Or is it inattentive, hyperactive? Yeah, is it hyperactive and impulsive and combined? Well, I scored, in order to be diagnosed, you need to score five or above out of nine questions, which is the questions are asked in a conversational style. I scored 6 out of 9 on inattentive, so I met the criteria for that one. And I scored 9 out of 9 on hyperactive and impulsive. So, yeah, I scored quite highly on that one. So, I've formally been diagnosed with combined ADHD or ADHD combined. I'm well aware of the fact that I'm autistic. I wasn't very aware of ADHD because of that, I've not really researched it that much. Since the diagnosis, I've researched it a little bit more. I know what it is, but I don't know how it affects me on a day-to-day basis. So, and how it affects me at work or anything like that. So we're going to find out. I found a video. What's it called? 10 unexpected signs of ADHD. So we're going to go through these 10 signs. I'm not sure how this video's formatted. So we'll see what the signs are and I'll see if any of them are relevant to me and my bus driving. So, oh, that's the other thing. The combination of ADHD and autism is, how's it said? AuDHD. So AUDHD, AuDHD. So, yeah, I'm going to have to look into that. So, but we'll start with this one and we'll see how it affects me at work.
If you've ever felt like ADHD alone doesn't quite explain your experience, or if you felt different in ways that are just hard to put into words, this might explain why. Today, I'm breaking down 10 signs of having both ADHD and autism.
All right. Okay. This is both ADHD and autism. AUD, DH, I can't get my head around how you say it.
And just a little warning, some of these might make your whole life make sense. For years, I suspected that I might have ADHD. The impulsivity, the hyperfocus, the constant battle with executive dysfunction, all of that made sense. But after I got my diagnosis and I started taking medication for ADHD, something still felt off. Like,
So that's one thing that has been mentioned to me, medication. I'm on the waiting list to talk to the medication people. I've heard mixed reviews about it. I don't think I'm going to go down the medication route yet because I've not had my formal assessment for autism yet. So I think that that's just a foregone conclusion. But until I have the actual diagnosis, any medication that I was to go for would only be for ADHD, and it might be less effective if I'm also autistic. So I'm going to wait for that assessment and that diagnosis, and then look at what to do then.
there was another piece to the puzzle that ADHD alone didn't explain, and it turns out there was. That's when I learned that ADHD and autism can often mask each other, making it even harder to know when you might have both. And that was my missing piece. So if you've ever felt like ADHD alone doesn't quite explain your experience, or if you just want to understand how these two conditions interact, you're in the right place. If you relate to these signs and it seems like everyone around you doesn't, it's not because there's something wrong with you. You're just wired differently, and you're definitely not alone. That's why I've built a space for neurodivergent people to connect called the Neurodivergent Network. So if you want to find your community, you can check that out below. Now let's get into it. These are the 10 unexpected signs of having both ADHD and autism.
Let's have a
Sign
look.
number 1, you crave structure and routine, but you have a hard time creating it for yourself or sticking to it, because you also need novelty and a challenge to stay engaged.
Yeah, I have to have a routine in which to function properly, which is why bus driving's so good for me. Knowing exactly what I'm doing throughout the course of the day is super important and helps me function. Starting and finishing the same time every day, super helpful because again, I know what I'm doing. So yeah, I totally go with that. As for, I mean, I do stick to my routines mainly. Certainly at work, I stick to my routines. Outside of work, yeah, I mostly stick to my routines, but there is that impulsivity there as well. So a good example of this is, or a couple of good examples of this, is while at work back in 2010, we were all chatting and I had the idea of doing a charity walk for Help for Heroes. Totally outside my baseline, totally outside my normal routine. And me and another driver, Richard, we organised this walk. And yeah, we raised money for Help for Heroes. There were, what was it? There were a few drivers. Can't remember exactly how many. I can remember who done the walk, but I can't remember how many there were. But yeah, so there was that. And also just recently, me, Lee, and Ryan, who have joined me on my gaming live streams, we're going to go off and play airsoft. Again, another one of my impulsive ideas. Impulsive buying. I definitely have that. Um, so yeah, I totally relate to that. Off to a good start.
Here's what that typically looks like. You thrive when you have the right structure, but actually creating and maintaining that structure is a challenge. You love the idea of planning and routines and having everything in order, but the moment it starts to feel repetitive, your ADHD brain is like, nah, I'm bored. Let's mess this up. It takes executive functioning in itself to maintain that structure. And so when it's too much of a lift to maintain the structure, you also unintentionally mess up the structure. This can
Yeah, that is very true. I mean, I have certain routines, as I say, but yeah, if I get bored, that can be a problem, and I do get bored.
show up when we're having a hard time getting what we want to do done. And so we try to create a structure and a routine so we can get things done. But then when it actually comes to doing it, we have a hard time executing on that routine.
So another example of that is housework. I struggle with housework. I get up in the morning, I know what needs to be done. The washing, for instance. I'll get up, I'll put the washing on. When it finishes, I'll put the dryer on, but then that washing may stay in the machine for 3 or 4 days. I will have an idea of cleaning the desk side. By the end of the day, I still haven't cleared the desk side, or I may have started it, but I haven't finished it. The same with washing up and various other things. I may start it, but I won't finish it. Speaking of which, I've got one of those dishwashers that go on the side, and quite often I'll wash what's in the sink, put it in the dishwasher to give it a decent wash, and then forget to actually put the dishwasher on. And I've just remembered I've literally just done that. I've loaded the dishwasher and I haven't turned it on. Let's carry on.
If you've ever been lying awake at night thinking about all the things that you want to do and you create an entire plan for how you're going to completely change your life and wake up the next day and be an entirely different, productive person, and then the next day you end up not doing any of it and just wake up and do exactly the same thing as you did before and don't
Exactly
stick
that.
to the plan whatsoever. That's what this is. Or if you've ever bought a new notebook or a planner you were so excited about using and you created this entire plan for yourself only to stick with it for a couple of days, maybe a couple of weeks, and then everything goes out the window. This is that too. Now let's
Yeah, done that as well. I've got a few different notebooks, journals, diaries, with the intent of writing in it every day or writing down what I want to do. I don't do any of it and I only stick with it for a little while. Okay, so I think I hit sign number one just a little bit. What's sign number two?
Let's move on to sign number 2, which is the idea of living a normal life sounds boring and uninteresting to you. You've never been excited about taking a traditional path. I don't know about you,
I'm not sure about that one. I mean, what is a normal life? Normal is very subjective and different for everyone. I mean, I don't have a very good work home balance. When I'm at work, I'm solely at work. I go to work, I come home, I go to work, and there's nothing else on work days. When I'm off work, I don't go out very much. This YouTube channel is as a direct result of not going out that much. I started this YouTube channel as a photography channel in order to get me out the house. It lasted a little while, but obviously it's transitioned since then. And I've just had nearly 3 weeks off. I think I've left the house maybe 4 or 5 times in those 3 weeks. And one of those was because of Lee. We went up to an airsoft shop up in Crawley. If he hadn't arranged that, I wouldn't have gone. So yeah, maybe. I don't know. Don't know about this one. Let's see what she says.
but for me, boring 9 to 5, cute little cookie cutter neighborhood, white picket fence, Stepford wives stuff just couldn't be me. Look, there's nothing wrong with taking a normal or traditional path. For the majority of people, I guess that works. That's some people's dream, right? But for me, and maybe for you too, the idea
Now, for me, my ideal house would be a nice house in the middle of a field in the countryside. That would be perfect for me. Is that normal? I don't know. I think possibly the reason I'm struggling with this one is the fact that I'm a bus driver. And yeah, okay, I can get bored doing the same routes, driving the same roads, and all the rest of it. But every single run I do is different. Like I can be on the same duty all week, and every single run during that week will be different. So, although driving the route can get monotonous and mundane, the fact that every time you drive a route, it's different, it's varied. Yeah, I think that's why I don't really resonate with this one so much.
of settling down and living a normal life just sounds suffocating and kind of terrible. If you've never been excited about that and you really just want to carve your own path, even if you don't know what that is, you feel more excited about figuring that out than you do about settling down and settling into a known or already paved path.
Now, for me, I want the normal life in relation to wife, family, and all of that, which obviously I no longer have. But I also want to go out and do things. Um, I think it's for me, going out and doing things is pointless if you're on your own because you want to share that experience. So is that all the ADHD thing? Oh, I said it. I don't know.
Realized I didn't want to follow a traditional path. I've never wanted to follow a traditional path, but when I graduated college, it seemed like the most logical and safest option to just go and get a job. So I did. And then a couple of years into my career, I really realized how unhappy I was. I looked around at my colleagues and my coworkers, and I realized that a lot of them were actually happy doing what we were doing. I had great jobs, I worked at great companies, I saw a lot of success, but I was so deeply unhappy and unfulfilled. Every time I started a new position, after about 6 months, when I had figured it out, I just didn't feel like it was challenging anymore. That traditional path was just entirely uninteresting and unfulfilling to me. And I had some conversations with coworkers where I realized that they didn't have these deep, unfulfilled desires like I did. They were really happy with this traditional path and the comfort that that provided them. But
I definitely have unfulfilled desires. Absolutely. A lot of these impulsive ideas I have are to try and fulfill those desires, I guess. So yeah, I can relate to that. I certainly feel unfulfilled like pretty much all the time. So hmm,
I realized on this traditional path, I didn't feel comfortable at all. I actually felt uncomfortable. So that's another sign for you that maybe you're a little bit different than everyone else. And
Christ, I know I'm different.
that's okay. Everybody should do what works for them. And if following a traditional path doesn't work for you, don't do it. So if you relate to sign number two, you'll probably also relate to sign number three, which
Sign number
is you
3.
find things that most people would consider challenging to be rather easy, and you find things that most people would consider to be easy rather challenging.
Yeah. There are a number of things that it appears that people find interesting or easy. A challenge, running the home, for instance, doing the chores. Most people find that easy. I find that really challenging, like starting something and actually finishing it. Yeah, that's a real challenge for me. But equally, I think it all comes down to your interests. So I have interests in psychology. I have an interest in neuroscience and neuroanatomy, body language reading, hence the videos on a Wednesday. If you're into that and want to give it a go, come and join me on a Wednesday. Yeah, hypnosis and those things, the things I find interesting, I also find easy, which other people, particularly on those topics, may not find so easy. I can learn things quite easily when I have an interest. And I know that some people do struggle with that. But yeah, the mundane stuff, the day-to-day stuff, I can struggle with. Bus routes, for instance. I can learn a bus route quite easily, quite quickly, if I'm familiar with the area in particular. But I know that others struggle with that. I get asked quite a lot in the comments how you learn bus routes. I've actually done videos on how to learn bus routes. So for me, that is quite easy. I don't know why, but yeah, I lost what I was saying. That's another ADHD thing. Let's carry on. Let's see what she says.
Like taking a traditional career path, a lot of people might consider that the easy route, but you find it really challenging. Versus the easier, more natural route for you would be to carve your own path, but other people find that really challenging. Now, don't get me wrong, carving your own path comes with its own challenges, but you welcome a challenge when it feels good and new and novel and exciting to you.
I do like a challenge. I really do like a challenge. If something's presented to me as a challenge, I'll go for it. Like, for instance, at Brighton and Hove, when they brought the scorecards out, measuring how our timekeeping was, I got a score of 97%, and that presented a challenge to me because I was told that 100% wasn't possible. It was impossible. So that presented a challenge. So every day I tried to stay on time and hit that 100%. The closest I got was 97. At Compass, the Green Road, I struggled with the Green Road to start with. Then Jasper kept talking about the Green Road, and a few others were talking about the Green Road. And with Jasper, I decided, right, okay, I'm going to beat you. So it created that challenge. And yeah, I brought that score. I think I was up in the 30s, and I brought it right the way down to, I think the lowest I've had it was, oh, I got it on 0. So that's purely because I took up that challenge.
You actually like challenges because you can absorb complex information like a sponge. You can more easily solve problems that other people struggle with and hyper focus your way to expert level skills. But
Yeah, hyper focus. So with hyper focus, I know that's something I have. I what was it, about a month, just over a month ago, I had a day where got up in the morning about 7:30. It was my day off, and straight away I started looking at neuroscience, neurons in particular. That day I spent around 13 and a half hours solely studying neurons. I was using Gemini AI, not sponsored, and even Gemini was telling me to stop to go and eat. When it got to 10 o'clock at night and I was still going, Gemini was saying, you need to stop now and go to bed. So, yeah, that was because obviously neuroscience and neuroanatomy is a special interest of mine, and I hit hyper focus on that, and yeah, that was the entire day wiped out just on neurons.
sometimes the simplest, quickest things are the hardest for us, like remembering to eat before we're absolutely starving, sending a text back, or filling out a simple form without wondering what the heck they mean by that question because it doesn't make any sense.
So I always send a text back. When I get a text, as soon as I see it, I reply to it. So that gets rid of that particular issue. Questions on forms, I've fell foul of that quite a few times. I'll quite often read something and it just won't make sense in my head, and I'll be like, what does that even mean? Not just forms. Sometimes people say something and I'll be like, I don't know what you mean. So yeah, I definitely have that.
Things like that can feel rather hard. So, if you've spent hours researching an obscure topic, or if you learn everything about a subject just to make a simple decision, you're not alone. Which brings me to
Yeah.
sign number 4. You tend to look at the world more logically than emotionally. And
So I definitely look at things more logically than emotionally. In actual fact, I've had people turn around to me and say that I don't show genuine emotion. I do have emotion. I'm not a psychopath. I do have emotion, but yeah, I don't feel comfortable displaying that emotion in public, as it were. And I certainly do look at things a lot more logically than emotionally. If something isn't logical, I really struggle to understand it. If a decision is made at work, I had this, the cabs, if a decision is made at work and I don't understand it, if I can't see the logic behind it, I will question it. So, yeah, I definitely struggle with that. If something isn't logical, then it doesn't make any sense to me. And reading people's emotions, I really struggle with as well. Hence, learning body language. I don't pick up on social cues. I don't pick up on people's emotions. So naturally, of course, I don't naturally pick up on people's emotions. The idea of learning body language to deep diving into it and practicing it, hence the videos on a Wednesday, it's for me to practice reading body language. The idea behind it is to bring that into what's called unconscious competence. which when it comes to reading social cues, neurotypical people have naturally, and I don't have that. So I'm having to learn it to hopefully such a standard that I obtain that unconscious competence, and I no longer have to think about what I'm seeing. So yeah, this is something I really struggle with on a day-to-day basis, even watching a TV program.
While you experience a great deal of emotion and feel very deeply, you tend to use logic to make decisions, and you have a hard time understanding both your emotions and other people's.
That's the funny thing. As I say, I've been told that I don't show emotion, but I do feel emotion really deeply, and I'm actually a very emotional person. As for why I don't display it, I don't know. But yeah, my decisions are made logically, not emotionally.
People often incorrectly assume that autistic people are not empathetic. The truth is, we are actually more empathetic than our allistic peers. We just
Yeah,
experience a different type of empathy. So we tend to feel more deeply for people when we know we're supposed to feel deeply for people.
yeah.
But when we don't know we're supposed to feel or be empathetic because we process things logically, sometimes we struggle to understand and express emotions.
And we will show that empathy differently as well. I've spoken about this before as well. How I show empathy, if someone is telling me what's happened to them, the way I express empathy for that is to share an experience of my own to show that I understand what they're saying and what they're feeling. This can be misinterpreted, I've found out, as narcissistic. However, the difference is I will be sharing a story of my own that's similar to show that I understand what you're going through and I feel your pain. Whereas a narcissist will tell a story of their own to try and outdo the other person. That's the difference, and it's a key difference.
It can seem like we're not empathetic because we can see a situation that we're not in so logically. And when other people are struggling emotionally, we just have a hard time really understanding that because our brain processes so logically. We often
That is very true. I've been in situations where I've been with someone in hospital and obviously in A&E or ER if you're in America, in an emergency situation, and I've been completely calm and logical while everyone else is really emotional. My dad, for instance, he got taken to hospital with brain hemorrhage, and obviously that's a really emotional time. But I was looking at it logically. I was looking at the brain scans, and obviously studying neuroscience, I could see what was going on. So I was looking at things at a very logical level, whereas everyone else was looking at it from a very emotional level. That doesn't mean to say that I didn't feel that emotion. Of course, I felt that emotion, but the way I processed it was very logical.
also try to process our own emotions logically, which makes the somatic experience of feeling and processing emotions really challenging for us. Life is emotional, and everything we experience in life brings up emotions, which
Yeah.
could be why we struggle with sign number 5. We are human, and experiencing life and the emotions that come with it is unpredictable. There's not necessarily a systematic way to experience and process emotion, which brings me to sign number 5. You create systems and processes for pretty much everything. And the more you do something, the more you improve on your process until you have the best way of doing it.
Yeah, that's very true. I do create systems and processes for literally everything. Absolutely everything. I analyze absolutely everything. My brain doesn't stop analyzing. I'm constantly thinking, why is that like that? Why have you said that? Why are you looking like that? Why is this like this? It's just endless. And yeah, if I've put something in place that works for me, I do get a bit upset when someone disrupts that and says, "Oh, how about trying it this way?" I'm like, "Well, why would I try it like that when this is working perfectly fine for me?" So yeah, definitely.
And it can be upsetting if you have to do something in a way that doesn't follow your
Yeah,
process. If there's a better, faster, more efficient way of doing something, you're going to find it. You naturally create systems and refine them until they're perfect. But if
yeah.
someone forces you to do something differently in a way that doesn't make sense or doesn't follow your system, you feel this internal tension or anger or rage because it just doesn't make sense.
I think that is why I've struggled on certain CPC courses, because I do my job the best way I can and it works for me. And when you go on a CPC course and they're telling you not to do it that way, you have to do it this way. Well, why do I have to do it this way? I put on a video a little while ago about a CPC course that didn't go so well, and it's purely for this reason. I mean, to be fair, they were being unreasonable as well, and they use the word robot, basically saying that drivers aren't allowed to be emotional, and yeah, that's never going to go well with me because I have an inherent sense of justice as well. So yeah, all this business about people that aren't out there doing the job even telling you how to do the job better, is like, mate, just don't bother. Like, I've been doing this job long enough. I know what I'm doing. I'm doing it the best way I can. I'm not getting complaints. I'm not having accidents, touch wood. Just leave me alone to get on with it. You know, my system is from experience, not a textbook. So just leave it out. Go and do the job before you come and tell us how to do the job.
To do something not in the best way possible if it's so easy to do it the best way possible and it comes so naturally and makes so much sense to you.
Exactly that.
Optimization and efficiency are just music to your ears, which brings me to sign number 6. Necessary, repetitive, mundane tasks are difficult for you to do without doing something else at the same time that is engaging and stimulating.
Yeah, housework. Quite often and it's probably why it doesn't get finished. Quite often when I have to do the housework, I've got George the robot Hoover thing, so I don't have to worry about that so much. But yeah, if I've got to tidy or I've got it in my head that I'm going to reorganize, like I've moved just recently my desk around, my computer around, and so on, to try and optimize video creation, I will quite often do that at the same time as maybe doing the washing up or the washing or changing the sheets or whatever. Um, yeah, if something's mundane, I will quite often try and be doing something that interests me at the same time. I really struggle with mundane, really, really struggle. And that's always the fear with bus driving, is it becomes mundane. But the job is the job. There's only so much you can do. Once you're on the bus, you're on the bus, and there's not a great deal you can do. I think my way around that is when I'm driving, I will quite often have quite deep thoughts. So, for instance, what is nothing? What comes after death? Video ideas. When I'm at traffic lights, I'll be looking around me at the people, looking at their body language and stuff like that. So I try to incorporate my own interests while I'm out driving in order to try and prevent that from becoming mundane. Let's carry on.
Folding laundry, doing the dishes, even basic self care like showering or brushing your teeth just sound like torture. But if
Yeah.
you add in a podcast or a TV show or your favorite YouTube channel or an audiobook or blasting music while you do whatever it is that you need to do, that can make those boring, mundane tasks a little bit more bearable. Sometimes
So yeah, I totally agree, especially with the audiobook. I do have a membership to Audible. There's a link in the description below, actually, for a free trial for Audible. So go and check that out. But Audible is amazing for me because when I have a layover, I'll quite often my audiobook on. I'll quite often listen to it to and from work. And they have so many titles on literally every genre you can imagine, both fiction and factual and educational. So For me, Audible is one of the best things. That and Spotify. Yeah, I'm always on Audible. Quite often actually, when I have a shower, I'll have Audible on. When I am doing housework, I'll have Audible on. I listen to it so much. I use it so much. So yeah, if that's something that you're interested in, free trial in the description below.
Your brain just needs extra stimulation and engagement to get the boring stuff done. And that's okay. Which brings me to sign number 7. You have the ability to multitask and process a lot of information at one time when you have a specific goal, an outcome that you're working towards, or a problem that you're trying to solve. You can
So multitasking, yes and no. Obviously, bus driving, you're multitasking all the time. You're reading the traffic, you're reading people, you're driving. I find that relatively easy. Multitasking at home, yeah, I'm always doing different things at once, but like I say, quite often a lot of those things won't get finished. Even editing videos can take a few days. I'll either start it and finish it within an hour, or it'll take me days. But yeah, I certainly process a lot of information from different areas all at once. And I think that's partly down to bus driving, because when you're bus driving, obviously you've got the controls of the bus, you're driving the bus, you've also got other road users, you've got pedestrians, you've got the passengers on the bus, you're looking out for people at bus stops and whether they want your bus. So you're constantly processing all this information. You're reading the body language of the people at the bus stops. Do they want your bus? Do they want the bus behind you? Are they not interested at all? You're reading the body language of the people walking along the pavements. Are they all walking in a straight line, as in the baseline? The baseline of pedestrians are they're either walking along the pavement along the side of the road, and you detect changes in that baseline of those pedestrians, like does someone suddenly move towards the road, or and you notice all of these things subconsciously. So yeah, you're taking in all this data all at once, and it helps me with learning as well. I have what's known as a monotropic mind, which means I don't have a conscious filter. Again, I've spoken about that before. It is both a blessing and a curse. It's a blessing because when I'm learning something, it's not going through a conscious filter. So I don't read very well through reading. I learn better through listening audibly, watching videos, audiobooks. I learn better that way. I can learn through reading, but yeah, I learn easier through listening. And like I say, quite often I'm doing other things while that is going on. So yeah, that's multitasking. So yeah, I totally relate to that.
juggle multiple ideas, analyze situations from multiple angles,
Yeah.
and make connections that others miss. But if
So I certainly analyze things from every conceivable angle. I do notice things that others miss. Equally, I miss the things that others notice. So generally, what happens is I will miss something that's obvious, but I'll click onto something that's not so obvious. And I have a different way of thinking. I will give ideas that other people might not have thought of. Sometimes they're better ideas, sometimes not so good. So
if you have no clear objective or no reason for why you're doing what you're doing, you can feel really overwhelmed. And a lot of information without a purpose can just be too much for you to handle.
oh yeah, definitely. If I'm in a situation where I am getting bombarded with information, and I don't mean someone talking to me, I mean sensory information, I can become overwhelmed. And I'd done a video a little while ago, got to be approaching a year ago now, where I went on the works Christmas do, and that resulted in a meltdown. A meltdown not being like a toddler has and throwing their toys out. An autistic meltdown is something quite different. And the comments on that video were quite amusing, really. So a lot of people clicked onto that video because they wanted to see a grown man have a tantrum like a toddler. Sorry to disappoint you, you numpties. For me, that just showed how vile some people can be, actually. But yeah, if I get overloaded with data, it can result in a meltdown. I can struggle with that. Generally, what I'll do is if I will feel that, I'll remove myself from that situation. But equally, and I found out through Gemini actually, because I've got a monotropic mind, if I get overstimulated with conversation, noise, that I can start not understanding what someone is saying to me. So if I'm having a conversation with you and it's noisy, because I have a monotropic mind, my mind isn't, or my brain isn't filtering out that other noise. So all of a sudden, all I'm hearing is noise. So I will stop understanding the words that you're saying. I've always likened it to like an alien speak or speech. So yeah, if someone I know is watching this and I start getting you to repeat yourself, quite possibly that's what's happening. So yeah, too much information coming in all at once, particularly sensory. Hit the mic. I can really struggle with that.
Now, sign number 8, you've often been told that you overthink things or just to chill out because things are not that serious or not that deep. But you
Yeah, I have been told that a lot, and I know that I overthink things and underthink things. Actually, sometimes I'll act and I won't have given it a single piece of thought, or I haven't understood the consequences of those actions. But yeah, generally, I do overthink an awful lot, and people have noted that, and also people have noted that I underthink as well. So
think that other people actually underthink things, and a lot of other people don't think about things enough and
yeah,
don't realize that things are much deeper than they realize. So you may have been told that you're too deep or too intense or you make
yeah,
things more complicated than they need to be.
I have been told an awful lot that I'm too intense, that I'm too deep. That is partly because I don't do small talk very well. To me, small talk's kind of pointless. But yeah, I have been told that I'm intense. I don't mean to be intense, but if I'm passionate about something, then yeah, I suppose I get intense. Yeah, let's carry on.
But in reality, you see patterns and connections and nuances
Yeah,
that other people are missing. The
yeah,
world is complicated, and most people just really don't think about things enough. The reality for me, and if you're watching up to this point, maybe for you too, is that we actually like to think. A lot of other people don't like to think.
I do quite like to think. Like, obviously, it's a process. It's something that has to be done. Like, certain things have to be thought about. And yeah, quite often, yeah, I do like to think. Who doesn't like to think? That's mind blowing to me. So let me know in the comments below. Do you like to think or do you not like to think? That's weird
So we
to me.
like getting into those details, getting into the
Yeah,
nuances,
absolutely.
getting into the complications of things because we like to think. We like patterns. We like it when things are complicated. Now, you
Yeah.
might need to be careful about that because some things don't need to be complicated. They might be complicated, but in order for you to get from A to B, it doesn't have to be complicated. So
What? In order for you to get from A to B, you need to have thought through the process of getting from A to B, don't you? Okay, that's mind blowing to me.
So I'd keep an eye out for that. But if you've related to this video so far and you've related to sign number 8,
Yeah.
that might be something to look out for. Don't make things more complicated than they need to be in order to get what you need to do done. But also, don't let other people tell you that you overthink things or think too much because a lot of other people are underthinking.
So, do I make things more complicated than they need to be? I don't know. I actually don't know. If anyone actually knows me, watches this, leave it in the comments below. Do I make things more complicated than they need to be? I don't know. That one's got me. That one's really got me. I don't know.
And you should think the exact right amount that works for you, okay? So let's get into these last 2 signs. Number 9 is that you can find it challenging to make new friends
Mm.
because you have a narrower and more intense set of interests than most people. And you
Yes, my entire life I have found it difficult to make friends. I always wondered why. Like, I'd meet people and get on with them and stuff like that, but getting invited out and meeting up outside of work and stuff like that doesn't really happen. There's only been maybe since joining the buses in 2002, there has only been three, I think, four people that have wanted to see me outside of work. That was Russ, who has sadly passed on now. Lee, who is on the streams, and we're going to play airsoft. Ryan, who is a compass driver, and Richard, who organised the charity walk with me and collared me into being his best man at his wedding as well. So yeah, four people since 2002. Yeah, when you're at work, you have workmates, don't you? And they all say, "Oh yeah, we do this, we do that, and the other," and it never happens. I get that I can be hard work. I jump about in conversations. Apparently I can be quite hard to talk to because of that. I have my interests and I get stuck on those interests. So I get it. It's not a nice feeling, but it is what it is. You can't do, or I can't really do much about it. So I am the way I am. My brain works the way it works. But yeah, starting friendships and in particular with women. I had an issue a little while ago, which again is on the channel, where there was a woman that I liked, and yeah, I was called intense. That didn't go very well. So yeah, that is an area that I have real struggles with.
Don't really care about the trivial or mundane things that other people care about. You just want friends to talk to and share the things that you care deeply about
Yeah,
with. For you, small talk is draining, and casual friendships that are based on surface level interests are just not for you. You want deep, meaningful connections with
yeah.
people who truly get you and who find the things that you find interesting also interesting.
So that's the other part of it as well, isn't it? It's acceptance. Does the other person accept you for you? I accept everyone for who they are. I don't judge them, or I try. Everyone judges, but I try not to judge them negatively. I'll always try and keep an open mind, but that isn't reciprocated. And yeah, I do feel that I'm accepted in small doses. I'm accepted in the workplace, but they don't want to bring that outside of the workplace because I can be hard work to talk to. Um, Lee is absolutely fantastic. He has such an understanding and acceptance of who I am, and he doesn't judge me at all. I've got an awful lot of time for Lee, and the same is also true with Ryan. He'll humour my weird questions. He'll humour my interests, and yeah, those two at the moment, they're phenomenal, and I appreciate him so much for that. And also Lee's wife Hannah, she's although I've met her a few times and I've spoken to her a lot playing Call of Duty and so on. She's shown an awful lot of acceptance of me as well. So yeah, they truly are amazing people. And yeah, I would class Hannah as a friend as well, although we've only seen each other a few times. But yeah, as for everyone else, as I say, I get it, I get it. But yeah, acceptance. That's the thing, isn't it? Acceptance.
And that can be kind of challenging to find. Neurodivergent people like us typically relate to people in different ways than neurotypical people do. So finding those friendships and finding that community can be a struggle. That is also a big reason why I created the Neurodivergent Network. I wanted to create a community for people like us to find and support one another. So if you've related to this video so far, check that out in the description below. Which brings me to number 10. You feel very different than most other people, and you felt that way your whole
Yeah.
life. Many of the experiences
So yeah, again, I have always known that I'm different from other people. The term I've heard an awful lot in my life is that I'm unique and unforgettable. I don't think that was ever meant in a detrimental way, but I have been certainly told quite a few times that I'm unique and unforgettable. And yeah, I've known since as far back as I can remember that I'm different from other people. I've not known why. I haven't been able to pinpoint why I'm different. I've just felt that I'm different. Like I've been in groups of people where I've just felt I'm not the same here. Do I belong here? And questioned whether I belonged in that group. Yeah, definitely. Can't really say much more on that. Just 100% fact.
Other people have had you don't relate to, and many of the experiences you've had most other people don't relate to. In many areas of your life, you've really just felt like an outsider, like there's an
Yeah,
invisible gap between you and the rest of the world, and you don't really understand why.
yeah,
And if that's
exactly
you,
that.
I get it. All of these signs are things that I experience and relate to. And I know that I'm not alone, so I know that
Yeah,
you're not alone either. If any of these signs resonated with you, there are so many of us who have gone through life feeling like we're different than everyone else without knowing why. But understanding and accepting your brain, whether you have an official diagnosis or not, can change everything. If you relate to these signs and you found this video helpful, please put in the comments what I might be missing. What are some other signs and things that you've experienced that feel unique to your neurodivergent experience?
okay, so we'll finish that video there. I will put the link to her channel in the description below, so please do go and check her out. She has gained a subscriber from me. Yeah, very informative, and I relate to everything there. Like I say, go and check her out. Great video, very informative. And yeah, it's good to know that you're not the only person that has these things. I had a comment on a video, I think it might have been the Christmas meltdown one, where I described what my meltdown was. And I had a comment on that just saying, like, holy cow, at least you've you've described my meltdown exactly. At least I'm not alone now. And that's the purpose of these kind of videos. Like there are many people out there with autism, with ADHD, with both, and other forms of special needs as well. Everyone's struggling with these things. And I'm just sharing my experiences of these things as a bus driver. I know there are other bus drivers with these conditions as well. So, yeah, I found that really interesting. Let me know what you think in the comments below. Um, there are also links in the description below if you are a bus driver or becoming a bus driver, a high vis jacket, a waterproof boots, trousers, all manner of things, along with some other bits and bobs, all of which that I use and have used frequently. And also the Audible free trial, go and check that out. Absolutely amazing. So that all being said, thank you very much for watching. Please do hit the like, subscribe, notification bell, leave a comment below. Body language reading on a Wednesday, and general vlog will be returning when I get back to work on a Sunday. Live streams in between as and around my shifts. So that all being said, I'll see you again next time.